Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Stephanie. This is the week 2 of 2020's weekly book wrap up, January the 5th through the 11th. As I said, this is the wrap up for week 2, also going to be the wrap up for Smutathon. And if you guys didn't know, Smutathon is a readathon that is being hosted by Riley Marie and Ginger Reed Laney, where we read all kinds of smutty goodness, adult romance in different categories. They had a bingo board and it was amazing. Yay. If you have been following on my socials, which are down in the description box, you will know that I was low-key doing Smutathon, but then it turned into a little more, because this week I read 16 books. Some of them were for Smutathon, some of them weren't for Smutathon. Oh my goodness, what is going on? Wow. So I'm up super early on Sunday morning to get this recorded so that hopefully you guys are seeing this while I am with the littles and the bigs of my family, with the fam at a swim meet. Hopefully. Fingers crossed that that is what is going on right now. So I have 16 books to talk about, which means that's a lot. It's a lot of books. So I'm just going to jump right into it and get you guys the books that I read last week. I started the week reading Siren by Hazel Grace. This is a dark romance. It's also a fairy tale retelling. It's part of the Sinister Fairy Tales collection. I give this book 5 stars. I give it 4 Steam fans. I read it as an ARC, as I said. It also released last week. You guys need to go read this. Oh my goodness. For Smutathon, I read it for Forbidden Romance. This is a retelling, reimagining, like, to the mostest of Little Mermaid, and you have Davina, Tobias, and Taegun, and they are in sort of a little love triangle. Davina is the mermaid, and yeah, she is stranded on this island. She has been spelled to the island, and Tobias and Dagon are the only 2 humans to have entered her island, and yeah, it's so good. So reimagined that it was just like, yes, here is the essence of Little Mermaid, but at the same time, it's completely different. So good, so dark, so twisted. Amazing. You guys need to go check it out. The next book that I finished was Crazy Good, which is Crazy Good #1 by Rachel Robinson. I place this in contemporary. I give it 4.25 stars. I give it 4 Steam fans. I listened to it as an audiobook, and this is Rachel's debut novel and series. I have read other Rachel Robinson's books, and I knew what I was getting into, that it was going to be a military romance about Navy SEALs and things like that. What I did not realize was that Rachel has come a long way in her writing, in her style, and everything like that. So this book follows Maverick, who is a Navy SEAL. He is not about commitment. He is like one and done type kind of guy. And Windsor is this independent, strong female that is a CPA. And she's like, yeah, I'm not having it. I'm not going to deal with him because he's only about the one night stand. I just got out of a bad relationship from this douche hole, and, you know, I don't want that. But they have a spark, they have chemistry, and they really get into it and work on their feelings and everything like that. I will say that if you are not within the military community, you may find offense to some of the things that are said in this book or some of the terminology that's used. But being that I have experience in that realm, it didn't really bother me, but it did jar me, I guess you could say, because I've been reading so much and now I can see through different lenses and things like that. But yeah, I thought it was a really good book. Then I went on to read Set in Stone, which is Crazy Good #2 by Rachel Robinson. I place this in contemporary. I give this one 4.25 stars. I give it 3 Steam fans. I listened to it as an audiobook. And this book follows two characters that we met in Crazy Good. Now, I will say, I can't say too much about this book to avoid some spoilers for the different couples that are introduced in book number 1. So this story sort of revolves around a woman and a guy, another Navy SEAL, that have been through some trauma and some tragedy and everything like that. So they're trying to get their lives back. And yeah, it's like a best friends to lovers type thing. So it's like when you are done dealing with the issues that you may have had, how do you cross over to being lovers type thing. So yes, it was very yummy. Very yummy. I do suggest that you read this book after you read the first book. Try not to read them out of order. The next book that I read was The Red number 1 by Tiffany Reisz. I place this in erotic fantasy. Well, they place it in erotic fantasy. I give this book 5 stars. I give it 5 Steam fans. I listened to it as an audiobook, and I listened to it for Smutathon for Outside of Comfort Zone. Now, it's not necessarily outside of my comfort zone. My comfort zone is pretty, like, large to say that something is outside of it, but I used it for this category because it dealt with fantasy. It's very fantasy heavy, but it also has erotic things that go on in it, and it's amazing. Oh my goodness. So we have Mona, who is an art gallery owner, but the art gallery is getting ready to go under. All of a sudden, this mysterious man named Malcolm comes into her art gallery and is offering her money, sort of an indecent proposal type situation for her to get back to owning and keeping her gallery. Yeah, it gets kind of crazy. Gets real crazy. It's very erotic, very fantastical, and everything like that. It has some history that's thrown in there about the paintings and about what the paintings mean. And yes, it was just amazing. It was so good. So good. The next book that I read was Spark, which is Web of Desire number 1 by Aleatha Romig. I place this in romantic suspense. I give this book 5 stars. I give it 4 Steam fans. I read it as an ARC. You guys will be able to read it this upcoming week, if not the next week. I think it's this upcoming week. And this is organized crime. We are back in the web series. You do not need to read the other books or other series to enjoy this story. This story is about Patrick and how he became a sparrow, his backstory, and the woman that is of his life. And it's so good. It was so, so good. I've been wanting Patrick's story for a little while now, and now I have the beginning of it. It is a 3-book series that will be coming out over 2020, and I just can't wait. It does end on a cliffhanger, so if you're one of those people that is like, oh, I don't want to read it until the rest of the series is out, you're going to have to wait until the end of the year to really dive into it so that you can read all of it, because it's coming out in 2020 in staggered moments. But yes, it's so good. So very good. The next book that I'm talking about is Reality's Illusion by Stephie Reisz. I place this in contemporary. However, there is not a happy ending. So if you're looking for a romance that has a happy ending to it, this isn't it. So technically, it wouldn't be considered a romance. It's more contemporary fiction, I guess you could say. But there are romantical elements to it, and I'll explain that in a second. I give this book 5 stars. I give it 3 Steam fans. I read it as an ARC. This book comes out later on in January 2020, and there are content warnings for attempted suicide, abuse, grief, depression, and I think that's it. Some other things as well. But it is very, very realistic in looking at these characters for what they're going through, how they're dealing with things, and yes. So Stephie warned me that I was going to be real mad at her and maybe not like this book, but I did love this book, even though there technically isn't a happily ever after for a couple per se. So we have Bastian, who is a artist, and then you have Nate and Sarah and Sylvie and all these different characters that are sort of, you get this clip of a year and a half, I think it is, of their lives and how they interact and how they're dealing with things that are going on in their lives. And it's moving, it's emotional, it's a very beautiful and raw look at, you know, a character that could be someone you know. So tread lightly when you go into this book, but know that it is very emotional. The next book that I finished was Love Her or Lose Her by Tessa Bailey, which is Hot and Hammer #2. And I place this in contemporary. I give it 4 stars. I give it 3 Steam fans. I give it, read it as an arc. Read it as an arc. And this book follows Rosie and Dominic. This is a pretty hyped book coming off of Fix Her Up. You either loved Fix Her Up or you didn't love Fix Her Up. And I think it's going to be pretty much the same for this one. This one deals with Rosie and Dominic, who are a married couple who are going through a rough patch in their marriage. They're they have to find where they fall in love again and why they're doing things that they're doing. There's a lack of communication within this couple, and through this book you get to sort of see them start to recommunicate. There were some aspects of the book that, or storyline plot points that were brought up but weren't completely fleshed out, which is why I rated it the way that I did. The next book that I finished was Search and Rescue by Lily Berlin Dobb, and I placed this in contemporary. It is a novella. I give it 4 stars. I give it 1 Steam fan. I listened to it as an audiobook. This one was for Smutathon, for a new to me author. I went through my Audible Escape program and was like, hey, I need something short and sounds, you know, really interesting. So this is the book that I picked. This follows Ren, who is a search and rescuer paramedic type person, and Clay, who is an extreme climber. He likes to free solo, and when she is responding to a rock face where Clay is free soloing, they have an interaction, and then he ends up hiring her to go with him on this huge climb. And through that, they end up sort of connecting and stuff like that. They've known each other. They connect and bond through trauma and over traumas that they've had. It is very insta-love. Like I said, it's in novella, so it only took me like an hour and a half to read it, which means it's only like a 3-hour audiobook. And yeah, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the epilogue and everything like that. So there's that. The next book that I finished was Eleanor and Gray by Brittainy C. Cherry. I placed this in contemporary, even though it starts when they are in high school. You get a glimpse of them in high school, and then they get into their adult lives, but it is mostly about their adult lives because I knew most of the stuff that happened in their high school stuff. I give this book 4.5 stars. I give it 3 Steam fans. I read it as an audiobook. And for Smutathon, I'm placing this as workplace romance because Eleanor becomes Gray's nanny to his 2 girls. So Eleanor and Gray knew each other when they were in high school. You know this if you have read Landon and Shay, any parts of that. And this is the standalone book that happens sort of between Landon and Shay Part 1 and Landon and Shay Part 2. And for me, I think reading Landon and Shay before reading this one really set the tone a little bit different for Landon and Shay, for their characters as well, but also set the tone different for Eleanor and Gray, because I got to see Eleanor and Gray in a different light going through those 2 books versus just seeing them on their own. And the 2 of them really have a good connection. When they're kids, they sort of connect because she is that awkward girl that takes a book to high school parties and will sit in the corner and read instead of, you know, socializing in the party and stuff like that. But at the same time, he finds her intriguing and is like, you know, hey, I want to get to know you. So they start to get to know each other. And then some things happen with her family. She has to end up moving, and they kind of keep connecting through email, but at the same time they kind of lose connection. And then they grow up and they go their separate paths, and then they come back together because Eleanor moves back to their hometown where Gray is. She wasn't keeping tabs on him. He wasn't necessarily keeping tabs on her, but their paths cross again, and she begins nannying for her, or for him. So there's that. The next book that I finished was Time and Space. This is Crazy Good number 3 by Rachel Robinson. I placed this one in romantic suspense. I give this book 4.5 stars. I give it 4 Steam fans. I listen to it as an audiobook. For Smutathon, this is an enemies to lovers space. And this book follows Colby, Lainey, and Dax. This is a love triangle, and there are suspense that goes along with it. So Colby and Dax are Navy SEALs, and there is some things that happened. I don't want to spoil it, so I'm not going to let you guys know about it. But Lainey is connected to both of them, and she sort of has to figure out where she wants to fall. Does she want to fall back with the man that she loved before, or does she want to stay with the guy that she loves now? And you know, that's sort of the love triangle that goes on there. And then there are some secrets that the 3 of them have sort of been keeping. 2 of them know about the secrets, but the other 2 don't know about. It's so much goodness. I loved all the suspense and aspect of it, and I was here for it. The next book that I finished was Cuffed, Everyday Heroes number 1 by Kate Bromberg. I place this in contemporary. I give it 4.25 stars. I give it 3 Steam fans. I read it as an ebook, and this has content warnings for childhood abuse and guilt and grief. So yeah. Grant is now a police officer, and Emerson is the little girl that lived across the street from him when they were kids. Something ends up happening where they feel some grief from each other. Emerson ends up becoming a sort of wanderer, and she doesn't stay in one place at a single point. At a single time, she's always moving. The word gypsy is used in this story, so I know I've seen on BookTube that gypsy is supposedly slang. However, that's an Urban Dictionary definition for it. The actual dictionary, you know, Webster's Dictionary, all the other dictionaries say that it just means someone that is a wanderer. But if you take offense to that word, then you probably want to stay away from that because it is said quite a few times. But the 2 of them end up coming back together, and they're sort of hashing out the things that they had, the trauma and everything like that they dealt with when they were kids, and now trying to make a relationship together. Because there was a connection while they were childhood friends, and now they're trying to get through that as adults. The next book that I finished was Played Again by Regina, and I place this in LGBT novella. I give it 3 stars. I give it 3 Steam fans. I listen to it on the podcast of Read Me Romance. Read Me Romance. And place this for Smutathon for LGBTQA+ space on there. This is about David and Chris. David, oh goodness. David went to the same school as Chris when they were in college. One of them wasn't out, one of them was out, and they exchanged a kiss at one point, but then they went their separate ways, and now they're coming back together to see if they still have chemistry now that both of them are out. And I enjoyed the story. However, I wasn't a fan of the narrators. I didn't really hear a differential voice, sort of, and it was weird because at one point I think one of the narrators tried to do the voice for the other narrator, and it just didn't sound good. And I think that sort of took me out of the story. I didn't find it very sexy at all. There's a handful of sexy moments, I guess you could say, but it was very, very tame and mild in my book. The next 3 books that I read were all together, and that was Hitched, volume number 1, Imperfect Love number 1 by Kendall Ryan. I place this in New Adult. I give it 3 stars. I give it 2 Steam fans. I listen to it as an audiobook for Smutathon, Fake Marriage and Fake Dating Space. And this book starts you into the path of Noah and Olivia's story. They are childhood friends. Their families have been working together. They have a company together. And one of the fathers dies. The other father is sick. In the father that died's will, it states that the two of them have to get married. And so to keep their company and to keep shares and all kinds of stuff to keep the, keep the family together. So they end up doing this fake marriage thing. They have a contract, and this is sort of the start of their journey. And yeah, there's some blackmail, and then there's a cliffhanger in volume 1. That brings us to Hitched volume 2, which is Imperfect Love number 2 by Kendall Ryan, not New Adult. I give this one 3 stars, give it 3 Steam fans, listen to it as an audiobook. This is a continuation of their fake marriage and the things they're dealing with. They're dealing with the blackmail that happened in the first one. However, I didn't feel that this one cleaned up the mess that was sort of brought up in the first volume that was skirted over until the end of this one, until the end of volume 2. And I was like, what? Huh? There's a clause in there that wasn't really talked about, and it was really just skirted over in this one. And I was like, why aren't we talking about the clause that was just found that is giving you guys some real mad? So I continued on and went to Hitched volume number 3, which is Imperfect Love number 3 by Kendall Ryan. And this is a New Adult. Give this one 3 stars. Give it 3 Steam fans. Listen to it as an audiobook. And this is the conclusion of Olivia and Noah's story. And we still don't get to this clause that is giving them so much grief until like the end of the book. And I was like, frustrated. So frustrated with this book by the end. But it did keep me engaged. They're very short. All 3 of them are very, very short books, very short audios. I listened to them in like 6 hours on Saturday morning before noon. I had them all completed, so yeah. And then the final book that I read last week was Let It Shine by Alyssa Cole. I placed this in historical interracial romance. I give it 4 stars. I give it 2 Steam fans. I listened to it as an audiobook. And this was my final space that I got done for Smutathon, which was for recommended to me. And this book follows Sophie and Ivan. Sophie is a black woman. Ivan is a Jewish man. They are both dealing with the civil rights movement. It has lots and lots of content about civil rights and the freedom rides and things that were going on during that time frame. There is language from that time in there. So if the N-word or any type of racial slurs bother you, this probably is not going to be the book for you. They are used in context for the time frame and for the situations that were going on. So yeah. It's kind of a heavy book, but at the same time, it's beautiful in that it shows that there was interracial dating and marriage and relationships way prior to, whenever. That were consensual, that were, being of their own, that they were fighting, they knew what they were getting into and they were fighting against it and, things like that. But Ivan and Sophie are friends that were childhood friends. Her mom used to work for his dad, and you get to see sort of that family dynamic of change and how even though they worked together and in this tumultuous sort of hotbed time, 2 nationalities, 2 racial, cultural different families that sort of covertly kept their feelings towards each other, you know, out of the limelight, but at the same time, you know, they had to come together and figure it out and stuff like that. It was so good. So very good. So, what am I currently reading? I am currently reading Before You by Mann. This was going to be my 9th book for Smutathon for the 2019 release. However, I didn't get it completed yesterday, although I wanted to. Right now, my head is spinning with what is actually going on in this book. I think I'm about 20% in, and I still have no clue. So, once again, Mann's about to, like, boggle my mind. I can see it already. I can see it. Quite a few of the other books that I read last week can double for that space. So technically, I did complete Smutathon. These are the books that I read throughout the week. I will just give you guys a slideshow of that because I just talked about them. So there's no need to go over them again about, you know, things like that. But those are the books that I read for Smutathon. It was a great time. I really love Smutathon. I was going to low-key do it, but then I was like, oh, let's just start. And I got rolling, and it just started to flow, and it was just so many great things. Okay, so the things that are coming up in the next couple weeks and days and things like that, I am back on the regular schedule of Tuesdays and Thursday videos, so be on the lookout for those because I have a discussion video coming up this week as well as my either best of 2019 and my worst of 2019 or most disappointing of 2019. I'm not sure which one of those I'm going to release this week, but they are coming, as well as next week I will be doing a live show for the Bookish Academy Awards. I hope you guys will stick with me, and you know, we're gonna do that. I'm thinking probably not the coming up Saturday, but the following Saturday night or Friday night. We will see. We will see. Be on the lookout for that because I will schedule it and give the sort of thumbnail and premiere information coming soon for you guys. But over the holidays, I decided to support a fellow YouTuber, India, from Page Turning. Wow. Turn the Page. And she has an Etsy shop where she does candles. So I decided to get a couple. So I got her box. Yay. She put these in there. Just drive me crazy. But now I'm trying to remember which flavors I got. And I don't remember. So you guys are going to open them with me. Ooh. And they're so pretty. So this is the Bali one. Let's see. Boop, 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 boop. There's Bali. And they're hand poured. Ooh, it smells good. I can't even describe what the flavors. It smells like. But it's Page Turning Candle Company. Super excited about that one. Ugh. Of course, I had to get Romance. Right? There's Romance. And it's pink and it's pretty. Mmm. It smells good. Can't tell you what that one smells like either. Oh, yes. This is the one that I just absolutely love. I love me some yellow cake. I love the smell of cake. All of that. This one smells like cake. So strong. So yummy. I love cake flavors. And then I got a big coffee house. Bam. Yes. Smells like coffee, I'm hoping. Oh, oh, does it smell like coffee? Oh, so good. So good. Coffee. I am not a huge coffee drinker, but the smell of coffee is amazing. I will leave a link for India's Etsy shop down in the description box, along with everything that you need to know about this video. If you want to timestamp, time jump, they are timestamped down in the description box. If there's a specific book you're looking for, affiliate links are down there as well. Tip for you guys, if you are Amazon users and you use an affiliate link, stay on that affiliate link and then go and do your other purchases. Sometimes that stuff will count to the affiliate link that the page is open to. Sometimes. If not, whatever. I greatly appreciate all you guys that use the affiliate links. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much for the support. All my other information is down in the description box. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, there's a feedback form down in the description box so you guys can help me improve my channel. Thank you for watching, and we will see you guys later.